HBCUs are more than a trend.
Yeah.
We're forever a part of the culture. HBCU Pulse always has you on lock. From the shade room to your favorite news feed, and now on your TV and radio. We are the number one outlet for HBCU culture. Follow HBCU Pulse on social media and visit hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community.
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, man, Randall Barnes, right here. The HBCU Experience interviews are back. We just did Southern University, the system, the third edition. Now we're back, and football season is starting up. High school football season actually is about to start this weekend. I'm very excited for that for a lot of different reasons. But college football season, HBCU football season starts next weekend with the MEAC SWAC Challenge. And of course, with HBCU football, HBCU bands go right along with it. So we have the HBCU Experience, the HBCU Band Alumna third edition that's coming soon on Amazon at the end of this month. So we got to start off big. All right. We got to start with the lead author. I've interviewed her before, Dr. Christy A. Walker in the building. She is an OG. She really paid the way for me out here. I wouldn't be on YouTube right now doing my thing if it was not for her and the creation of the Fifth Quarter. That was a website that was created in 1999 to spotlight HBCU band life. Super excited to talk to her. Let's go on and bring her on. Dr. Walker, how you doing today?
I am good. It's good to see you again.
It's great to see you. Like, we have been talking over a year, and we talked the last time the book was out. How's everything going?
Oh man, things are going well. I mean, you know, time is passing, so getting, like you said a few minutes ago, just getting ready to gear up for the season to start.
It's been too long of a wait. Like, this is my first year really being invested in HBCU football and football in general. I've been watching old games. I've been watching old halftime performances. And I'm like, is it August 26th yet? This wait is too long, but it's finally here. And we have the HBCU Experience, the HBCU Band Alumni third edition. First and foremost, how does it feel to be in this edition of the book?
Well, it's always a pleasure to be in these books. I mean, I'm all about, you know, sharing our stories, and so that we can live forever in history. And so I think this is just one of the ways to give back to the culture. And I'm always excited about it. So yeah, it's a good thing.
And then you're the lead author. So how does it feel to be the lead author leading things off in the book?
Well, you know, that's a big responsibility, and I take it seriously. So, you know, my chapter is going to be about my experiences marching for A&T. Aggie Pride, had to get that shout out in there. But yeah, it's really good to be lead author. I am proud to be that Dr. Ashley Little thought of me to include me as a lead author in this series. So yeah, I have a lot of pride about being in this role.
Listen, it was a no-brainer. You had to be the lead author. Fifth Quarter, 1999. I was 3 years old. You've been doing this. You were doing this for a minute. You've been making it happen for a minute. You've been putting band culture on the map for a minute. So listen, I've interviewed you before. So the task I always have when I interview folks again for a second time is, what am I going to do that's different? Because you were interviewed by Roy Wood Jr. Now, that's my guy, fam. You alumni, yep. White House Correspondents' Dinner, The Daily Show. So I have a bar to set at this point. Roy's my guy, but I got a bar to set. Okay, so we're going to start off with this, and I'm going to hit you with some more questions. So what made you choose North Carolina A&T as your HBCU?
Well, it had a combination. It was a combination of things. So I do want to start off by saying that both of my parents met in A&T's band when they were marching in the 1960s. And so I always grew up around A&T, even though technically I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, where you have Hampton University and Norfolk State. But my parents were very active in A&T alumni things. And so I just remember going to games when I was like 4 or 5 years old, just always seeing them. But that wasn't the main reason why I went to A&T. It was that was one piece of it, but it wasn't the whole pie. The whole pie is that it was a school that had my major that I was interested in. So I majored in chemical engineering. They had a really good engineering program. It was a Black school. I know I wanted to go to a HBCU. Didn't have to be A&T, but I knew it was going to be a HBCU. It was at a bordering state, so it wasn't too far for me, but it wasn't right in my backyard. And it wasn't too big, it wasn't too small. It was just like a good fit. It had all of the qualities that I liked, and of course, the blue and gold marching machine, which I grew up seeing as young as 4 or 5 years old. So it had all those things.
So you just broke down so eloquently why you went to North Carolina A&T. And as you know, I've talked to you about this last time we did an interview. I am a media guy, so I consume a lot of HBCU media. And as you were talking, I was thinking in my head, like drumline, Bama State style, marching orders, drumline too. Like, and then you got the choir and their band, scenes. So I'm trying to think like HBCU band, how has it been portrayed in pop culture? And my conclusion is it hasn't really been portrayed all that much outside of those four. And then you have Why Not Us Southern Dance that showed the dance line. So I want you to give us just your experience as a member of the Blue and Gold Marching Machine, and even give us, a few of your favorite moments being a part of the band.
Okay. Well, I'll think of some favorite moments. I'll give you some favorite moments. So it was actually on my 18th birthday. I never remember the exact day it was. So it was my 18th birthday. It was my first game that I played, that I faced a band opposite me, and it was A&T versus Winston-Salem State. And so it's always memorable because you do all this practicing, and you're transitioning as a freshman from a high school person to a college person. And this is the first time that it was a game and I saw somebody in front of me, like blowing back at us, trying to compete with us. So that was memorable. Another good memorable game was when my sophomore year, we went to Indianapolis for the Circle City Classic and we played Southern. And that was really good because that was my first time facing, like a SWAC band and just the different style. And it was my first time, in Indianapolis. That was a great weekend, a lot of fun. Circle City Classic was a very, it was structured. They had a whole weekend of things laid out for us. So that was good as well. And then also when we played, this was actually my senior year, when we played Florida A&M in Tallahassee, which a lot of visiting bands don't do because I don't know, maybe it's the intimidation of Bragg Stadium or whatever, but we went and we played, we did our thing against them in Bragg Stadium, and actually during the fifth quarter, our band walked across the field to where FAMU was sitting, and then we actually played some songs together. And it's funny because I've gotten to know, since my deals with the fifth quarter, I've gotten to know quite a few people from FAMU that were either in the band at that time or they were at that game. And so, it's fun always hearing their perspectives, and like their band threw a party for us afterwards. And now I can talk with people and say, hey, I was at that party. We were at the party, but we didn't know each other because it was pre-99. So yeah, that's a cool thing. So those are some good memories. I mean, what it was like to march in the band for A&T, I think it's not really that much different than any other HBCU bands. I mean, we had our camps in the summer and in August. We were sweating out there in the heat, learning the music, getting physically prepared. And then, once the semester started, once classes started and things like that, we would have practices every day and, do parades, do the games, of course, do Battle of Bands. I mean, I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. But yeah, it was good times.
So you said that at the Circle City Classic, you all played Southern University, and y'all played Southern, the human jukebox. And the last time I did interviews, I remember Mr. Hankey said that Southern is the standard. And you had the other bands, they were like, "Can I get your autograph?" You know, like that's just Southern. Southern is they're the big band. So what was it like as a MEAC band playing against the SWAC band, and what was the difference in style?
Okay, I cannot speak for any other MEAC band. I can only speak for the one that I marched in. Before that, I want to say Mr. Hankey, he is a trip. He's been on my podcast before, and yeah, he loves his school. I'm gonna just say that and be diplomatic. But I love my school too. If you are watching this, Mr. Hankey, I love my school too. Anyway, so my band director, the late Dr. Johnny B. Hodge, he taught us that nobody from A&T is to be intimidated by any other band. I do believe that bands take on the personality of their director. It's like, whatever the director's personality is, that's what the band ends up being. If you have kind of like a laid back person at the head, your band comes to it at a laid back approach. If you have like a more assertive, like hardcore one, same kind of deal. And Dr. Hodge, he was very much like, look, I don't care if it's Southern in front of us, we're going to do our thing. And so that was really the attitude. Like, that whole autograph thing, there is no way that 90s era A&T would have ever asked for anybody's autograph. And I can guarantee that. Like, if you talk to anybody that marched like during my era, we didn't care if it was Southern in front of them, in front of us. Mm-mm. So we came out and we did our thing. And, we actually ended up winning a trophy for the Battle of the Bands that day. Yes, we did. It's still in A&T's like band room somewhere. And yeah, so that's what it was like. I mean, I think people get caught up in athletic conference, MEAC versus SWAC and things like that. But I mean, they're all different styles of HBCU band. And if you're good, you're good. Like, it doesn't matter really what conference you're in.
So I see this a lot on Twitter because like the MEAC has beaten the SWAC in football because it's a more physical brand of football. And that's something that we've seen in Celebration Bowl 2016. Grambling was the only team to win the Celebration Bowl. A&T won 4. North Carolina Central that won last year. And then you had South Carolina State in 2021. But one thing they always say in the back and forth, and I'm SIAC, I'm Fort Valley. I got my Fort Valley shirt on today. So, I just sort of observe. But they say, y'all got the football. Y'all be beating us. But it's a different style in SWAC band. So what you're saying is that the MEAC, listen, y'all ain't worried about that because we gonna play, we good too. We ain't worried about it. So is that what you're saying?
Basically, I mean, it's different styles of music and approaching music, and like even the instrumentation can be different. I mean, back in the day, it was more that the SWAC bands were more brassy and had the larger instruments, and therefore were, sometimes just the way that the arrangements were written were to showcase like those bigger, louder instruments. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like Southern. I like the SWAC. I like those bands. But then there's also something to say about, stressing. If I say this word, I don't want to say like stressing musicality because I don't want you to think that that the SWAC folks aren't musical. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just a difference in approach and execution. It's different. It's not one worse than the other. It's just whatever you have your preference is.
Listen, I love it. The thing about me is that my preference is HBCU bands only because I'll never forget when Fort Valley played Valdosta State and we were playing Back That Thing Up and they were just going crazy during the halftime show. Like Fort Valley, Valdosta, they were up dancing. All of a sudden they came out and played like Toy Story. You Got a Friend in Me. And I'm like, you know what? Listen, SWAC, MEAC, SIC, CIAA, HBCU, because they not touched us over there. Because they playing Little Mermaid. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like to be a part of that world. No, we playing something else. Like we playing Aaliyah, we playing Timberlands. What we doing? So I gotta ask you
because even like A&T and Hampton and Tennessee State, we're not in a HBCU only conference anymore, and so we're not gonna like lose what we've been doing just because we're in a non HBCU heavy conference. So
So I
that's my
gotta ask you,
attitude toward it.
I gotta ask you this then, because I think that's a great segue. So you had North Carolina A&T left the MEAC in, I want to say it was 2000, what, 2021? It was one of those years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know it was during like heavy COVID, so I can't keep up now.
And we were at home. We were like, "What?" Yeah, I think it was like it was in February. We were like, "Wait a minute, they leaving the MEAC?" Because it was like, "What the world?" All these celebration bowls, all the different stuff. So first was the Big South. Now it's the CAA, and we know the CAA is a big football conference, and Hampton is also a part of the CAA. But a lot of folks have the conversation of culture, and it's almost an inclusive culture when it comes to HBCUs, where it's like, listen, y'all left the conference, so y'all want to be a part of the Band of the Year competition. Y'all want to come to Battle of the Bands. This is HBCU stuff. You want to go to that conference to be over there. So as an HBCU alumna from North Carolina A&T, and you're in the media, you're an expert in band life, what do you think about those conversations about HBCUs that left the MEAC and the SWAC to go to white conferences?
We just because these schools are at a PWI conference does not mean that they're no longer a historically Black college or university. So that's really what I have to say about that. I mean, I know that like Tennessee State, there's no doubt that they still keep things that's in the culture. They out here winning Grammy awards and stuff. Like, we don't have that conversation with about Tennessee State because they've been in their conference for so long. It's just, I think maybe the talk between A&T and Hampton with us leaving the conference in the last 5 years or so, I think. But no, we're not going to lose our HBCU status. We're still going to keep doing the things that we do. And I mean, we're still going to be at like Battle of the Bands. We're still going to play each other. I mean, A&T plays Hampton for Hampton's homecoming this year, and I'm gonna be there. Same thing with Norfolk State. So it happens, and of course Aggie Eagle. We always gonna keep those rivalries. So yeah, I mean, just because we're in a different conference doesn't mean we're any less Black. I don't get it.
I totally agree. And one thing I always say in those conversations is that HBCU is a federal designation that gave HBCUs that were created before 1965 and 64, like the credentials, hey, you were created for the advancement of Black folks. The culture's still there. It's not like, hey, you go somewhere else and you leave. Would I like for A&T to be back? I would. And I'm telling you what I want to see. This is not what the band situation, Sonic Boom versus Blowing Up Machine would have been amazing. But I just want to see Deion Sanders play North Carolina A&T. Now, it's not going to happen. Who says it's not going to happen?
Yeah.
A&T play Colorado. So that's not going to happen now.
Yeah,
but that's what I want to see. Celebration Bowl or regular season game, that's all I want to see. But at the end of the day, we're all a part of the family. And I think folks forget that. And I think that transitions perfectly into the ESPN Band of the Year competition, the inaugural Band of the Year competition. And I was so excited about these interviews because I get to ask the band alumni about this new competition that was just announced. I wrote an article about it. I'm working for Clutch Points now. I'm the lead editor of HBCU content. So one of my first articles, I started July 26th. I wrote about the Band of the Year competition. So I want to set the parameters for what the competition is. So they say it's not a traditional showcase or battle of the bands. It's a competition. So you got to earn your way there. It's not like, hey, you're getting invited. You got to earn your way there. North Carolina A&T, Hampton, Tennessee State, Talladega, HBCUs that are not in historically Black conferences can still make it. They can make it to those four. So A&T could get there. Like Tennessee State could get there. It could be North Carolina A&T versus Southern. Who knows? That'd be really great. All right. So to qualify, they have a Division I, Division II side. Bands will be judged on an unspecified number of performances throughout the season. That number has not been specified yet. And Mr. Grant, who of course is over the Celebration Bowl, which as an Aggie you know a lot about. Over the Celebration Bowl, like it's a schedule is going to be put out soon of which band performances will be judged, and the SWAC Championship and Bayou Classic will not be judged. All four competing bands will be paid a monetary figure that has not been publicly revealed, but we know that the bands that are participating will get paid. And the number that we don't know, it might increase based on sponsorship. And it's going to take place during the Celebration Bowl weekend on Friday, December 15th. And it'll air somewhere on ESPN. We don't know yet. We don't know if it's going to be on TV, on ESPN Plus, on ESPN News. We don't know. We just know it's going to be on TV, and we're going to record it and talk about it and watch it. The ratings will be high that day. So I got to ask you, I had to lay all that out so people can know. So what do you think about the ESPN Band of the Year competition?
I am excited about it. I mean, it's a way of exposing our culture and putting more light on our culture, and putting more money in some of these bands' pockets, whoever they may be. And I'm excited about the fact that it's going to be judged by, I believe, band directors, and we'll see what they have to say. I mean, other they have Bands of America out there, which is like the PWI bands, and they get adjudicated. They have Drum Corps just had DCI, they just had their world championships last week. They are adjudicated. So I think it's gonna be something new and something exciting for the HBCU band world. And I'm looking forward to learning more about it. But yeah, I was excited when the news came out about it. I was like, oh, okay, I see you. So we'll see.
So I got to ask you this. You already know I got to ask you, okay? So we know the North Carolina A&T can make it. It's 4 spots. You got 2 for D2, 2 for D1. All right, you got the MEAC and the SWAC. Then you have A&T, Hampton, Tennessee State that aren't in the MEAC or the SWAC. So listen, 5th quarter, you the OG, 1999. So I need you to let me know who your way too early prediction of the 4 Division 2 and Division 1 that you believe are going to make it to Celebration Bowl weekend.
Okay. I respectfully decline to answer that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Several reasons. I think it's too early to tell. I mean, I hear whisperings and stuff, in the band world, but I got to see somebody. And I mean, there's footage out there of people at their camps, but I never judge by that. Like, no, it's hard for me to say. Way too early predictions. I honestly think they're gonna, I don't know. There are gonna be a couple of shockers, I think. Some bands. Okay, I'll say it like this. There are some bands that people are gonna be looking out for because of like changing leadership, and and they're waiting to see what that director will do. They're waiting to see how big these bands will be. Like, so it's really hard to tell at this point. I don't feel like I know enough to even call it, honestly.
So let me ask you this, okay? Because I'm trying to figure out a way to ask it where you can answer it where it won't be too presumptuous. Like, oh, I think this band's going to win. Okay, I ask 2 ways. I'll give you
some bands to look out for.
Okay, give us bands to look out for then. Okay.
2 in particular. I would say number 1 is Alcorn, because they've had a change in director. And their director was at Kentucky State prior to that. And Kentucky State, they were doing really well. I mean, they may continue to, I don't know. But it's kind of like a domino effect. So since Will Brooks is at Alcorn, then they're going to see what happens at not at Kentucky State, because he's no longer there. And so that those 2 would be bands to watch. And then also Mississippi Valley, because Dr. Bonds is there now, and he was at Talladega. So now that's another ripple effect. So we're going to see what Talladega does, because Bonds is at Valley now. So all of those are the things that immediately come to mind.
I love it.
At least the bands to watch.
And I heard that did Mississippi Valley get more members? I heard they got more members. Is that true?
Yeah. Apparently they did. Apparently, it's kind of like a football coach. When your coach changes schools, and then you have people that follow that coach. And I think it's the same kind of deal. So it remains to be seen what happens.
I love
I'm
it.
looking forward to it though.
I was going to ask you if you thought A&T was going to make it, or if you thought that one of the like the HBCUs that are in non-historically Black conferences, like Tennessee State, Hampton, North Carolina A&T, even like Talladega, like, do you think that they can get in and make it?
Oh, anybody can make it. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because those programs that you just named, none of them are slouches by any means. So yeah, anybody can make it. Anything's possible.
I love it.
Like the beginning of
love
football season, you got a clean slate,
See, what I love about band is y'all are technical, because with football, they're like, listen, my team is winning. I don't care about no stats. I don't care if the games ain't played. Celebration Bowl. Band members are like, hold up now. Let's wait. We ain't heard nobody play yet.
Well, maybe that's me. That's me though. I'm analytical, and I kind of have to be not biased, but like I kind of got to look at it objectively rather than subjectively. Like I have to, of course I love my school and everything, but I mean, I just look at it differently. Now you meet the Mr. Hankies of the world. He's definitely going to say, So
If
I
I
think that's
interview
a
him,
me thing. That's not necessarily a bandhead thing.
I feel it. If I interview him again, because I've interviewed him 3 times, if I interview him again, I know he's going to give me some viral answers about the Band of the Year competition, because what he's going to say is, listen, we turned down Drumline. That's what he's going to say. We turned down Drumline. Which that story is amazing. And I think it's so crazy too, is that there wasn't like a competition of that nature for HBCUs. There was Honda Battle of the Bands, it still is. There's Battle of the Bands, there's band showcases, but this is a competition, and it's of the same ilk of Drumline, because at the end of Drumline, that was a competition, and it came down to Morris Brown and Atlanta A&T. Like it is like Atlanta A&T, North Carolina A&T, same colors, might have been inspired at this point. So I think that's
at the same thing, just like in Drumline though, like yeah, in the movie Atlanta A&T won, but the band heads know, everybody knows that Morris Brown was the better ensemble in that movie. Everybody knows that. So
yeah, I'm not a band head, but that's totally true. So we agree that, because for me, I feel like if that was real life, because you got to have a storybook ending. Morris Brown definitely won. And I feel like they won on so many levels, but the showmanship for sure. Bringing out Petey Pablo. Like that's next level. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what? I think Atlanta A&T definitely lost that one. And the drumming thing, I don't think that the Band of the Year is going to come to a Drumline competition. So that's another strike to Drumline. Okay, I've been on a tirade against Drumline for the past few years. Another strike against Drumline.
I don't hate it that much like people do. Look, if you look right here, I have a Drumline poster here. So like I don't dislike Drumline like other band heads do, but I think it's just because I have the mindset that it's very Hollywooded up. So, I take the pieces that are really like the culture and I enjoy those. And then the other ones, I'm like, but yeah, I kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Hey, I feel it. And I got to say this before we get, a more expansive view of your chapter in the HBC experience, the HBC Band Alumni 3rd edition, because you gave us a little snippet, but I want you to give us like a full snippet to end the interview. But I forgot you had the show about Gramblin's Band, like Gramblin's Band that was on the same time as College Hill, Virginia State, so like that's another media moment when it comes to band culture, and it's on YouTube, because I didn't know that existed.
I never would have thought back in the day that, like, I mean, what was it? Marching Orders with Bethune-Cookman. Like, that's just the show that I put on to, like, it's like my comfort food show. Like, I know what's going to happen. I put it on if I'm doing laundry or something like that. And, it's like my comfort show. I never would have thought that, like, bands would have, like, a show that's on Netflix, a show that's on, because there was March with Prairie View that was on
the CW,
the CW, and I never would have thought it would be like that, but I'm not complaining because it's a good thing.
It is, and I think it says a lot about our culture and the value of our culture. And that's a whole longer conversation that on Twitter we often talk about the value of the culture, both, the value of this, the cultural value, but also economic value, because you have so many sectors of HBCU culture that intertwines with sports that can be sold. We should have a bunch of shows, a bunch of YouTube videos, all these different things that's monetizing that athletic department and the finance department, but that's not happening. That's a whole different conversation. We have to bring you back on for that. But we got to talk about your part in the book, your chapter. You're the lead author, the HBCU Experience, the HBCU Band Alumni 3rd edition. So you gave us a little snippet at the beginning of the interview. So you got to give us this, because you're the lead author. We got a 5th quarter 1999. So we got to know. Like, you got 19.
Okay. I do want to first start off by saying that I'm excited about this edition because there are schools that have not been in the previous editions that are, and so I'm very excited about that. Now we've got some schools that are repeat schools, but everybody's story is different, and I love learning about them and reading their stories. But here's a little piece of mine. It's basically my band story of marching at A&T. It starts when I was like 4 or 5 and first got exposed to bands. Then it goes through high school. And then when I finally get to college, what my band camp was like, what memorable games I've had, and just like how it's helped to shape me to who I am today. So that's my teaser about the chapter.
Hey, listen, that's all we need, because all I gotta say is 5th quarter, okay? And we all gonna go read it. 5th quarter, 1999. All right, listen, you set the culture. There wouldn't be no ESPN Man of the Year if it wasn't 5th quarter, and I stand on that. All right, because they needed to know what was going on to know. Listen, this HBCU band stuff is popping. So let me go on and get the band of the year competition going, so we can get these bands some money and some exposure. So listen, I always say this when we spoke, because I said this last time. I appreciate you for what you've done and how you paved the way for HBCU media, because you was right there with HBCU Connect back in the day, before HBCU Pulse, before HBCU Buzz, before the premier HBCU platforms that cover the culture. So first and foremost, I appreciate you. And before we go, please tell everyone where we can find you on social media, your podcast, how we can support you.
Okay, well, you can find me on Instagram at Christy, that's CHRISTY, the number 5 and the letter Q for 5th quarter. I'm on, I even do a little thing on TikTok. I'm on TikTok at 5th quarter Christy. And my podcast is called the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker. And I interview folks that march in HBCU bands, different schools, different instruments, different eras, and, learn about their life. And so you can find that on anywhere that you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, even have our audio on YouTube. It's an audio podcast, so we just have the audio up on YouTube. Just look up like the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker, and you can find it.
I love it. I love it. Listen, the HBCU Experience, the HBCU Band Alumni 3rd edition, your lead author, Dr. Christy A. Walker, making it happen. Thank you so much for coming on.
It is always great talking with you. You're funny.
Hey, listen, I was just trying to set the bar to Roy Wood Jr. set. I ain't as funny as Roy Wood. Okay,
no,
I'm trying to set the bar.
You did a great job.
Thank you so much, Dr. Walker.
Okay, bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. The band edition is going to be different, because we're going to talk about some things, and we're going to talk about this ESPN Band of the Year competition. And if y'all want more information on that, I want to let y'all know that I wrote an article about it. I wrote 2 articles, and I did an article about a week or so ago that detailed more about what the HBCU Band of the Year competition entails, like the criteria, what they're looking for, what schools are available, what performances are going to be graded. And every step of the way with the information, you can go to HBCU Pulse's social media, and also Clutch Points. We're going to have that for you, because we want to make sure that we give the band that love. And this is big time. This is the first one. So we want to make sure that we support it and show it love. But outside of that, thank you all for tuning in. We're going to have some more interviews coming up. The HBCU Experience, the HBCU Band Alumni 3rd edition is coming out at the end of the month. So make sure to tap in on Amazon. More interviews coming up. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, we'll see you on the other side.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.